Greetings Exiles and welcome to yet another League Start build guide. Do you love explosions? Do you love one-shots? Are you not suffering from epilepsy? Then the on-death explosion and conversion-based Divine Ire Trickster might just be the build you're looking for. This build combines the huge burst damage of Divine Ire with on-death explosions while amplifying the damage by using multiple stages of conversion and gaining extra chaos damage on every stage. One-shots are no rarity on this character, even against monsters you do not even directly hit with your beam. This allows for strong single target while maintaining solid clear speed. There are two main weaknesses in this build. The first being that your damage has high highs but also low lows. Sometimes it feels like you are dealing no damage at all, whereas in other situations you one-shot bosses. The other weakness is that this build scales tremendously with gear, which means if you are extremely starved on currency and can't even buy the starter gear, you will have a hard time killing tier 16 bosses. Playstyle is quite easy. The goal is to charge up a beam, kill a few monsters in the pack, and kill anything around those with Heralds, Impulsar, and the Obliteration unique wand on kill effect. If something stays alive, it usually dies from the Herald of Ashburn. For even more damage against single targets, where you can fully utilize the on-death explosions, you can place down an Armageddon brand, which will apply debuffs as well as wither totems to enhance your chaos damage. Before you reach endgame and the big bosses, you have to level up your character first. The leveling process in this build is relatively easy. Take Orb of Storms and Explosive Trap until you can pick up Divine Ire at level 28. You can also take a Lightning Spire Trap to help you with single target. Character leveling progression trees can be found in the PoE provided in the video description. Just select them from the bottom left drop down menu. In the Bandit quest, I suggest you help Alira. Resistances and mana regen, especially while leveling, feel really good. And since the build scales with crit, the crit multi is also welcome. As Ascendancy Progression, it's actually not super important where you start, since all of them are based on your late game character. I suggest starting with Ghost Dance for some damage reduction and movement speed. Take Swift Killer second, followed by Escape Artist for damage and utility. This leaves Harness the Void at last, since it only grants its true power once you got your multi-conversion going. I was playing with the idea to have two weapon setups, one for mapping and one for the big bosses. While mapping, you want to use the super common, extremely cheap Obliteration unique wand. It grants us a huge damage boost from the 15% physical as extra chaos, as well as additional on-death explosions. Make sure to get the 15%. The crit and physical damage rolls do nothing for us. The secondary pair of weapons would be Doriani's Catalyst. They might be expensive early into the league, but cast speed, crit, elemental damage, and especially the elemental damage leech are highly valuable when fighting big bosses. As chest piece, Impulsar is the best choice for map clear. Once you get into super late game, you can change the whole build to full shape gear and wear an Eternity Shroud to reach hundreds of millions of damage. Another important part in our quest to get as many conversions going as possible are two Call of the Brotherhood rings. Those grant us a combined total of 80% lightning to cold conversion. As far as rare gear goes, your first priority should be to reach 75% resistance cap on every elemental resistance, as well as getting all base stats like strength and dexterity to the necessary amounts. After that, get as much life as possible. Don't forget movement speed and maybe onslaught on your boots. Also, if you can, get Energy Shield or Chaos Resistance. Energy Shield is our secondary defense after life in this build. I also like to craft minus mana cost to channeling skills on my amulet, so you don't have to worry about draining your mana too fast while channeling. Important, you really want onslaught somewhere, so if you don't get it from your boots or flasks, try to get it on an abyss jewel. The best stats on your other jewels are life or crit multi, depending if you want offense or defense. Other options are shown on screen right now. Let's have a look at the flasks. An instant life flask is never a bad idea. Huge damage boost comes from a diamond flask, just like on every other crit build. Another strong damage flask is an Asirius Promise. We benefit from every single stat on that flask, so it helps a lot. To move faster, take a Quicksilver flask. As last flask, you can take any defensive flask, or a sulfur flask, or even a Taste of Hate. Also, make sure to get Bleed, Freeze and Curse immunity on your magic flasks. You can check the flasks and all other gear I just talked about in the PoE provided in the video description. Those are some example anointments. Feel free to use any other anointment depending on your needs. We got 2 categories, offense and defense, at 3 different price points. The only one real good offensive anointment is Searing Heat. The defensive stuff is kinda self-explanatory. Let's go over all the skills now and also how the conversion works. Following example. You deal 100 physical damage as base damage. And now you go through all the conversion steps this build has. Physical to lightning to cold to fire. Converting 100% of physical to lightning means you only deal lightning damage now. Converting 80% of lead lightning to cold means you have 20 remaining lightning and 80 new cold damage. Converting 50% of the cold to fire means you still have the 20 lightning from before, and 50% of the cold will now be fire, so 40 damage of each type. You end up with a mixed elemental damage, which sums up to the 100 base damage from the beginning. So no damage bonus, just looking at those conversions. But now we add 50% of non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage into the equation. Without any conversion, you will simply deal 50% of your physical damage as extra chaos. Easy. But with 100% fist to lightning conversion, you also get the 50% bonus on your new converted damage type. Instead of 50, we now get 100 extra chaos damage in total. 50 from fist, 50 from lightning. So let's also convert 80% of lightning to cold damage. Our new converted damage type is cold. So we get 50% of the 80 damage as extra chaos, which is 40. The same goes for the last conversion step, 50% cold to fire. We had 80 cold, that means we end up with 40 cold and 40 fire. Fire is the new element we converted into, which means we get 50% of the 40 fire damage as extra chaos, and end up with a total bonus of 160 chaos damage. Comparing the conversion and the non-conversion scenarios, you can see that instead of 50, we get 160 bonus damage. Using that mechanic makes the build incredibly strong the better gear you get, especially once you have full Shaper items with Eternity Shroud and other non-chaos as extra chaos rolls. I know, that was quite heavy to understand, but the rest of the build is super easy and straightforward. A cast when damage taken will summon a lightning golem and helps us to survive due to the skill skin. Flame Dash as movement ability linked with faster casting and Arcane Surge level 7 means you only have to dash once to get your Arcane Surge buff. Since the build also ends up dealing about 40% chaos damage, we utilize Wither Totems to increase the chaos damage enemies take. Use it on bosses. The Armageddon brand helps with boss damage as well. It applies Assassin's Mark to increase our crit and Combustion, which reduces fire resistance. Even with all the conversion and extra chaos, 40% of our damage is fire, so that helps a lot. As auras, you take Hatred for big damage and Herald of Ice and Ash for both damage and on-death explosions, all linked to an Enlighten. If you got the currency to get strong weapons for bossing, such as the Dorianis I talked about earlier, then swap them in for bossing. Otherwise, bossing and mapping setups are the same. Just don't forget to use Wither Totems and Armageddon brand on tough targets. And now, as last thing in this build guide, Pantheon. I like Luranus for mapping and Solaris for bossing as major gods on that build. Garokan as miner is my go-to because of the additional dodge in sticky situations and movement speed while mapping. For bossing, I recommend Tukohama as miner. If you liked this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for new and updated content. If however you dislike this video, then please tell me why. I really care about improving. Questions? You can ask down in the comments or on my Twitch stream. I'm not on the schedule, but you can ask me any questions there when I'm live. Link is down in the video description. I also have a lot of guides on my channel, not only build guides but also knowledge guides, so make sure to check them out as well. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you very much for watching. I am Jay and I'm out.